Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Macmillan Children's Publishing Group Winter 2026 preview event. My name is Mary Van Aken, and I am the Executive Director of School and Library Marketing at Macmillan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elise Villalobos. I'm the marketing manager of the Macmillan Children's School and Library team.
Hi, everyone. I'm Davina, and I'm the Associate Marketing Manager of the School and Library team.
Hi, everyone. I'm Grace, and I am the School and Library Marketing Assistant here.
And next slide, we are so excited to give you all an overview of our winter titles, including picture books, chapter books, middle grade, and young adult titles from across all of our imprints, including Feiwel and Friends, Farrar Straus Giroux books for young readers, Henry Holt books for young readers, First Second, 23rd Street, Roaring Brick Press, Balzer and Bray, Neon Squid, and Odd Dot. We'll kick things off with a keynote address from debut young adult author Petra Lord introducing Queen of Faces. And we're also so excited to welcome best-selling author Adib Khorram. He'll introduce One Word, Six Letters, a raw and thought-provoking novel. Next slide. A few housekeeping notes before we begin. In the chat, you'll see a link for the full list of titles we're discussing today. This link was included in the reminder email you received from Zoom an hour ago. You can also download the title list by copying the URL on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble, contact Booklist at webinars@booklistonline.com. In the digital review column for picture books and graphic novels, you can click through to read a digital review copy on issue. Please don't share these widely. These are just meant for review purposes only. And in the digital review column for middle grade and young adult, you'll find a link to request on NetGalley where available. And we'll go through and approve all of those requests right after this event. As we only have 60 minutes to present, this is not our full list of titles. We could go on and on and on. So please take your time browsing the whole title list. And finally, if you are posting about this event on Blue Sky or any other platform, please use hashtag MacKidsPreview.
Thanks, Mary. Okay, everyone, if you have a question or need technical assistance during today's presentation, please use the Q&A box. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the live transcript icon on the toolbar. From there, you can select show or hide subtitles from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting subtitle settings. Today's event will be recorded and the recording will be shared with you after the event. Finally, we expect all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates the standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. Okay. Kicking it off to Davina. Thank you.
Thanks, Elise. So to kick off today's event, I am thrilled to introduce Petra Lord, author of Queen of Faces. Everybody who has read Queen of Faces has been floored by this new YA fantasy novel that tackles complex issues of class and gender, all through the lens of twisty dark academia and an inventive magic system. We're so excited to share a conversation between Petra and her editor, Brian, with you today. So Petra and Brian, take it away.
Thank you, Davina.
Everyone, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for being here, Petra. I'm excited to chat with you about your wonderful debut, Queen of Faces. I want to make sure we could dive right in to make the most of this conversation. So, and thank you all for having us and for listening in. So Petra, I know you started working on Queen of Faces nearly a decade ago, which is a staggering amount of time. Can you tell us where you got the idea for a fantasy world in which body swapping is a class marker?
Yeah, totally. The world of body swapping was actually the very first thing I made for this story, all the way back in 2017. The plot and the characters, all that stuff actually all came later. So I've always been a big fan of cyberpunk stories like Ghost in the Shell, where you can kind of swap your mind between different bodies with technology. And in my opinion, I think that makes all these fascinating questions about identity. I think the body that we are born into is something that we often take for granted, much like our gender. So I think a world where that kind of bends and twists was really fascinating to me. So I kind of wanted to make a fantasy version of that. And as for class, I think that is honestly, depressingly, something that just reflects our own world. I think beauty, health, and power all kind of just gravitate towards wealth in our society. And in Queen of Faces, that just kind of also extends to your body and your face.
I love that. And I kind of want to dig a little bit more into uh, gender and sort of the notion of being in your body, and kind of related to that, in the exclusive first look that was hosted by Entertainment Weekly, you mentioned that in the world of Queen of Faces, if your body is like an outfit you can change, then your mind, the core of your being, is your greatest weapon. How does this idea inform the magic system in your series?
Yeah, so in Queen of Faces, the magic system is basically powered by intelligence. If you want to control water, then you need to understand hydrogen and oxygen. If you want to change someone's mind, you need to understand psychology and neurology. So the four different schools of magic are powered by different types of intelligence, like mathematical intelligence, emotional intelligence, kinesthetic intelligence. And also, some mages have a unique magic ability that's called a codex. And in order to grow that, in order to grow the power of a codex, you need to personally grow as a person. So I see kind of transformation as being at the core of the fantasy elements of this world. To quote one character, magic is the art of changing yourself.
I love that quote so much, and I think it says so much about the book in such a succinct way. And kind of continuing off of like what we've been talking about a little bit with this sort of notion of gender being woven into the DNA of this story, in so many ways, this is a story that I think is just like epic in its scale. It's going to reach so many fantasy readers, is my hope, because I think it is so wonderful. But it's also been hailed as a transgender epic by early tastemakers. And you mentioned at Publishers Weekly that you aim to write a transgender fantasy, not just a fantasy that happens to have trans characters. Can you expand on that goal and what that really means to you?
Totally, yeah. So back in 2017, when I first came up with the idea for this book, there were not a ton of trans people in fantasy. In the ensuing years, that has gotten a lot better, but we definitely still have a long ways to go, in my opinion. So I didn't just want to have a fantasy story that happened to have trans representation in it. I wanted to have the trans experience fundamentally woven into the world of the book, the magic of the book, and kind of the fundamental themes of the book in a really foundational way. And that's kind of what led me to the world of body swapping. So I do see Queen of Faces as a story about identity and a story that has, a ton of trans main characters. But I think I also see it as a story about becoming an adult, a coming of age story, which is its own kind of transition. So I am, I think, also hoping that anyone who reads it can kind of relate to the main character's struggle, regardless of, their background.
I love that. And I mean, I think you've woven that into the DNA into the story in a way that just is so intrinsic to what it is and so critical. But I want to change gears here for a second because something that I think I love so much about your writing and what I think early readers are harping on about is how you have so many plot twists. I was joking with you recently that, we have Brandon Sanderson fans call his like epic endings with twists Sanderstorms, and I think I'm trying to get the phrase Lord of Lanches going for anyone here who wants to continue that. But particularly in the
Flattering, thank
last
you.
particularly in the last third of the read, this book is constantly shocking the reader. How do you even begin to plot something like that out?
Totally, yeah. So I have a degree in TV writing. which, in my opinion, is kind of like boot camp for plot. I honestly think every author could benefit from a TV writing degree. So I think after a lot of years of experience, this stuff kind of just feels really natural to me now. Kind of just working the gears of plot, escalation, reversal, surprise, and almost all my favorite fantasy stories, whether on the book or the screen, are just chock full of plot twists. But I think in terms of having a good plot twist, I forget who said it, but there is a quote about writing and plot twists that goes, "A good plot twist should feel both surprising and inevitable." It should feel shocking, but even more importantly than being shocking, it should feel earned and truthful to the story. And I think that is the root of a good plot twist. It's not just about, shocking or pulling the rug out from under your audience. It's kind of about bringing out the deepest core of your story. So I think even more so than being shocking, I think being honest is kind of the key to good plot twists.
I could not agree more. I love that feeling when you read a twist and you're like, I never saw that coming, and yet it is completely was seeded perfectly to get to that moment. Um, I'd also be remiss not to mention how wonderful this dark academia environment you've created is. And in particular, I think so often magic school stories are set in these pristine environments and feature kind of the A+ students and rising stars. But you focus on the outcasts, the rejects, and the cruel elite, which I love. Why did you decide to bring that approach to dark academia?
Well, I mean, I think firstly, I always identify with losers much more than winners, to be honest. Uh, I love underdogs. But I think on a more general kind of thematic sense, I think often the fantasy of magic school and of dark academia in general can be kind of a changeling fantasy. You are living this boring ordinary life until one day you are plucked out of obscurity and you are swept into a world of wonder. You get to be chosen as one of the super special people, as kind of one of the elite. So in the very first chapter of Queen of Faces, our main character Anna gets rejected from magic school. She is not special. She is not one of the elite. There are a million losers just like her, and though she might have some latent magical abilities, she ultimately belongs to the riffraff. So, in my opinion, in the rest of the story, Anna is not the chosen one. She chooses herself. And to me, I find that much more compelling to write than the story of someone who is kind of born a super special genius and succeeds at everything. Though I can enjoy those stories too.
Think that's such a wonderful place to end this. I mean, I love hearing you talk about the book, and I could talk to you about it endlessly. But I love that notion of choosing yourself rather than being the chosen one. And I just cannot recommend this read and Petra's storytelling enough. It blew me away, and I think it's going to blow a lot of people away. And so thanks for being here, Petra.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you both so much. I know we all loved hearing you guys talk about it. All right, so now on to our picture book buzz. All around the world, kids have firsts. They have a first day of school, a first time tying their shoes, and a first night away from home. But of course, not all of our firsts look the same. For Subhan, growing up in the Somali desert, the first that she is so looking forward to is the first day that she can herd her family's goats by herself. Next slide. It's so hard to wait, but her Ayo, her grandma, says she has to wait until both her front teeth fall out. With a little time and some help from a friendly baby goat, she is finally ready. Next slide. As she watches the goats, she dreams of all the ways she can help her family as she grows up, and she might have to scare off some intrepid predators as well. Kids will love learning about a new kind of first day in this sweet picture book from Somali author Shugri Sal, and the story is enriched with vibrant and lush illustrations, as you can see here, from Alaba Onajan. Next slide. Have you ever read the infamously long classic Moby Dick and thought, what was going on with that whale? Well, this was the question that kept Ahab up at night, but we no longer have to wonder. He was trying to make friends. Next slide. You can watch Moby try valiantly to play tag, start a water fight, and give his best smile to the surly Ahab, all to no avail. But when he learns to be true to himself, other friends come out of the woodwork, or water work, as the case may be, in this silly picture book from Lars Kenseth. Next slide. Lars Kenseth is a beloved cartoonist whose work has appeared in Mad Magazine, Esquire, and The New Yorker, and this is his debut as an author-illustrator. And as you can see here, his humor and animation-esque style comes through in every page. Next slide. And I have a very important question for you. What is cuter than a kitty? A kitty caterpillar. We can all agree. Next slide. Look at all of its legs. With colorful and exuberant illustrations from the best-selling illustrator of Uni the Unicorn, Bridget Barriger, authors Annabeth Bonder-Stone and Connor White take us through the day of a distinctly indoor kitty caterpillar who loves her human very much. But when Kitty Caterpillar gets trapped outside, will she be able to find her way home? Next slide. Maybe not on her own, but spoiler alert, her human might be able to help. And if you, like us, can't get enough of the wiggly, snuggly, many-legged kitty caterpillar, we have more books with her coming soon. Next slide. It's always a great day when you can introduce a new Elijah Cooper book. We're very excited to share today the story of a bird, a beautiful, rare bird, who is definitely just a bird and not a cat. Next slide. This bird flits through his forest. He finds worms, dogtails, bird feeders, humans, and makes nests in boxes. He is definitely a bird. Next slide. All right, you got me. He's not a bird. He's a cat, lucky enough to have access to the stories of animals far and wide with different experiences and homes. His human reads to him every night, and every day he dreams big and wild dreams. I think, and true to form, this rare bird's life is showcased in Caldecott Honor winner Elijah Cooper's signature soft and dreamy watercolors and wavy lines that make you just want to curl up and dream as well. Elijah has expanded his palette for this book with colorful spreads and exciting landscapes, so this is really Elijah Cooper like you've never seen him before. Next slide. And in a surprising twist, we have not one but two Herman Melville-inspired titles on our list this season. So I'm going to hand us over to author and illustrator Matt Phelan to tell us about the first book in his new picture book series, Bartleby. But first, we're going to look at a couple spreads because they're adorable. So next slide.
Hi, I'm Matt Phelan. I'm the author and illustrator of the brand new picture book, Bartleby.
Bartleby was inspired by one of my favorite short stories, Bartleby the Scrivener by Herman Melville. I thought it'd be interesting to take that idea of that story and put it in a preschool. I have a little polar bear named Bartleby who, instead of saying no to everything, says, I prefer not to, which is different than saying no and has a different effect. But it does have an effect, and it has an effect on his classmates and his teacher, and also on Bartleby himself. So I wanted to explore this little bear who knows what he doesn't want to do, and how he tries to find a way where he can participate with his classmates. And that is the story of Bartleby.
I never get tired of seeing the whole character come to life on the page. Next slide. So here's a fun fact. I grew up on the West Coast, but I didn't see a beaver until I was in my 20s. I didn't even really know that there were beavers in California, but it is in fact, like all of North America, their natural habitat. Beavers aren't endangered anymore, but they are typically thought of as pests, and in most states, they are killed when they move into areas near people. Next slide. But beavers are a key partner in keeping salmon populations alive, protecting animals during wildfires, and storing water, which is why the Tulalip tribes of Washington created a new program to protect and relocate them, which benefits both the beavers and the people who rely on the salmon that spawn near their dams. This is the story of that program and all of the things that beavers can do from author and illustrator Allison Pierce Stevens. Next slide. After you read it, I am sure you and the kids you read it to will be just as excited as I was to see a beaver for the first time, if that's even possible. Next slide. Next, we have a gorgeous new book to share from Adiba Nelson and Deanne Wiley. It's Hazel's favorite day of the year. It's the Disability Pride Parade. Join her as she gets ready with her coolest gear and uses the accessible infrastructure in her town. Learn about her friends with disabilities and the way that their town makes it possible for all of them to get around safely. Next slide. Author Adiba Nelson is the parent of a child with disabilities and wrote this book to help her child see herself in books, but also to teach other kids how they can make the world around them more inclusive. Next slide. The book has back matter with activities to get classrooms talking about accessibility in their community, and this sweet story is made even brighter and more joyful by the collage-style illustrations of Deanne Wiley. Next slide. And I know this will be exciting. We're very happy to share with you a new picture book from Caldecott honoree and CSK John Steptoe Award winner Janelle Washington. For Janelle, the heart of the home is the kitchen table. Next slide. Where a child and her family eat meals, make art, have celebrations, and hard conversations, and come together over and over again. In her debut as an author-illustrator following the award-winning Choosing Brave, Janelle uses her iconic cut paper art style to show a family's traditions through the years and how they all congregate around that special heart of the home. Next slide. Janelle infuses this book with details of her own upbringing to give this relatable story a personal touch. The author's ties to the story are discussed in a heartwarming author's note in the back matter, along with photos of her own kitchen table, which did make me tear up just a little bit. Next slide. In 2026, we will celebrate a very special birthday for a very special bear. Winnie the Pooh is turning 100 years old. And to celebrate this milestone, we're releasing a picture book all about how this special bear came to be. How a Bear Became a Book tells the story of how writer, illustrator, and editor came together to craft Pooh's first adventure. But deeper than that, this book introduces our youngest readers to how stories begin and where they can go. As Pooh's voice enters the conversation, he slowly comes to life in the art. And what art it is. Next slide. Illustrator Faith Prey's gentle and nuanced art shows your favorite characters being built with words and soft washes of color as the story unfolds. Next slide. Author Annette Bay Pimentel has packed the book with essential biographical and historical details about the creation of the first Winnie the Pooh book, introductions to the people that help make a picture book generally, and sources for additional reading in the robust back matter. Next slide. And with their round head and improbably small wings, puffins have captured the hearts of kids the world over. And they have also captured the hearts of powerhouse nonfiction picture book duo and self-described hashtag bird nerds, Maria Gianferrari and Maris Wick of You and the Bowerbird fame. Follow along with kids as they learn about the life of a puffin family roosting on Eastern Egg Rock. Over the course of the story, the family raises a tiny puffling, keeping it safe from predators and diving into the ocean to find food. Next slide. Kids will also learn about the ways that changing climate affects the life cycle of puffins and how volunteers and researchers kept the puffin from extinction. Maria Gianferrari's lyrical, concise text is perfectly elevated by Maris Wick's gorgeous, bright art. And Maris has infused comic book elements into the story, packing in action through paneling. Next slide, which I think you can really see here. And this book contains ample back matter and supplemental reading so kids can get even more obsessed with this adorable little bird. Next slide. And we have many more picture books to check out on NetGalley and in the title grid, so you can see a few more here. Next slide. Next slide. There's a bunch. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. All right.
Thanks, Davina. So many great picture books coming soon, and I'm excited to jump in and talk about middle grade. Next slide. All right, kicking things off, we have Eureka by Victoria Chang. For fans of Inside Out and Back Again, Other Words for Home, and A Place to Hang the Moon, Eureka is a gorgeous and emotionally resonant novel in verse. I'll leave you with Victoria to tell you more. Next slide.
Hi, my name is Victoria Chang, and I'm a poet, and I'm excited to tell you about my historical middle grade novel in verse called Eureka. Mei Mei is a 12-year-old Chinese American girl living in San Francisco in 1884, where she's living with her mama and baba. She loves playing hide and seek and running around like a little rabbit through the streets. But this all changes when her parents send her away to Eureka, California, because in San Francisco, young girls like Mei Mei are being kidnapped. While Eureka was supposed to be safer, it's even more dangerous. When Eureka's Chinatown is burned down and Chinese American residents are gathered and sent away on steamships, Mei Mei is caught in the middle of these events. Through her struggles, though, she discovers her own voice, courage, resilience, and hope, and in the process finds the love of a found family. I hope that middle grade readers enjoy Mei Mei's adventures, spunky personality, and her courageous approach to hardship, while they get to learn about a little-known piece of American history.
Wonderful. Next slide. Okay. We have The Lion's Run. This is a first historical fiction novel by #1 New York Times bestselling author Sarah Pennypacker. It's a suspenseful, poignant, and timely novel set during World War II and provides a glimpse into the often overlooked aspect of the Nazi regime, the Lebensborn, maternity homes for young women whose pure babies were sent to Germany for adoption. With short chapters, a modest page count, and fast pacing, middle grade readers will blast through this book. Set just before D-Day in France, 14-year-old Lucas is tired of his soft-hearted reputation among the orphans and of the daily indignities of Nazi occupation. He feels nothing like the brave hero he wishes he could be, but before long he realizes that there are unexpected heroes all around him. A girl hiding her horse from the Germans, a housekeeper at the maternity home working for the resistance, a young mother determined to thwart the forced adoption of her newborn, and a neighbor providing refuge to a Jewish family. Soon, Lucas himself is faced with the ultimate test of courage and must decide how much he's willing to risk to make the most daring rescue of all. Next slide. Dante Inferno is not a loser. Author Brian Gordon decided when he was 6 that he was going to grow up and be a cartoonist. He's the writer of Foul Language, a webcomic read by millions around the world, and Dante Inferno is his debut series for kids. Next slide. Dante Nimrod Furno is winning at being a loser. Ever since his pants fell down in front of the entire school, his life has been nothing short of embarrassingly uncool. Never fear, once Dante starts 6th grade, he has a foolproof plan to become the most popular kid at Perg Middle School by completely reinventing himself, making a ton of new friends, magically becoming good at sports, and rubbing his newfound popularity in the face of all the haters and jerks he grew up with. Next slide. But Perg Middle School won't let Dante forget his dorky reputation so easily. With expressive and humorous art, kids won't want to put this down. Next slide. From Newbery honor-winning and #1 New York Times best-selling author A Rover Story comes the moving story of a cheetah who forms a friendship with a rescue dog, a bond that will change their lives forever. Perfect for fans of Katherine Applegate and Roseanne Perry. The story is inspired by real programs that exist in several zoos nationwide, which pair cheetahs with rescued dogs to help ease their anxiety while living in captivity. Anxiety is a topic that continues to grow in relevancy, especially for younger generations. Librarians and educators can use the story as a springboard to gently address those issues with readers. Finnegan is a rescue dog with a broken heart, with a fear of abandonment after being kicked out of his previous owner, and Chase is an anxious cheetah cub newly orphaned. The two animals couldn't be more different. Now paired, Finnegan must help Chase overcome her fears or risk losing his new home and letting Chase down. The two come to find that the power of friendship is healing and that they are both worthy of love. Jasmine Warga creates a deeply moving tale about how the power of friendship really transcends anything, even species. Next slide. And we have The Greenies. This is a first graphic novel in a new series. The Babysitter's Club meets the Breakfast Club in this fun and fresh graphic novel about a girl who reluctantly joins the environmental club at her new school and finds friendship and community. Next slide. After her parents' divorce, 7th grader Violet is forced to start all over. Now the new kid at a new school in a new town, she must navigate unfamiliar territory. Luckily, Violet falls in with a new group of maybe friends, but when they wind up in detention, they're forced to join the underattended environmental club, and they don't take it seriously at first. Until there are consequences. Next slide. What will become of this ragtag group? Fans of Raina Telgemeier will love this hilarious and heartfelt story about making friends, making mistakes, and learning to care for your environment. A timely topic for today's readers, and they just might be inspired to host their own neighborhood cleanup. Next slide. Breakout. Ellis Starr's chronic acne often resembles the active volcanoes she likes collecting facts about in her journal. But it's not just cosplaying as a pepperoni pizza that has Ellis on the verge of erupting. Her mom's hot and cold moods have the two of them butting heads nonstop, especially now that her mom is dating for the first time since her parents' separation. Then there's her perfect best friend Aggie with perfect skin, and Ellis still needs to decide on a research topic for a big school project. With 8th grade proving to be a challenge, Ellis's only bright spot is the time she spends with her Aunt Lydia and her puppy Rocco. Maybe this season of breakouts can lead to a breakthrough about what Ellis needs to feel truly good in her own skin. From the USA Today bestselling author of Jawbreaker and Slouch, editor Joy Peskin calls Christina the Judy Blume of our time, covering real stuff preteens go through with humor and heart. And next up in the series is Mean About Girls, coming next year. Next slide. The Blue Dress. The story of this book started when editor Joy Peskin read an essay by Rebecca Morrison about the ways her mother judged Rebecca's body when she was a child. When Yasmin's mother makes her a beautiful blue dress to wear for a Persian New Year celebration, it's a beautiful dress, but it doesn't fit yet. Her mother made it too small as motivation for Yasmin to lose weight. Yasmin wishes her mother would just love her as she is, but she does want to please her mom and fit in with the popular girls. Maybe if she just lost a little weight. Restricting food leads to throwing up, leads to weight loss. Now her mom is happy and the girls in the in crowd make a place for her, which means leaving her old best friend behind. Is that what Yasmin wanted? The Blue Dress explores themes of immigration, race, identity, beauty standards, and eating disorders. Author Rebecca is an Iranian American lawyer and prolific essayist, and she tenderly handles these topics. Next slide. And in betweens, twin sisters Sloane and Ash are two peas in a pod, and they do everything together: watch movies, attend classes, and most importantly, draw. So when the summer animation classes of their dreams are about to start, they can barely contain their excitement. Well, Ash is excited, but Sloane is surprised to find she isn't as jubilant about it, which makes no sense since she loves art. Next slide. Meanwhile, Ash discovers that just because you love something doesn't mean you'll automatically be good at it, and she struggles under the weight of her own expectations and those of her teachers. Soon, the trials of challenging classwork and new friendships drive a wedge between the twins. Can their bond survive the summer? Next slide. This is Faith's sweet spot of contemporary upper middle grade. Her solo titles include Right On, New York Times bestselling, rave reviewed, Friends with Boys, and Eisner Award-winning The Adventures of Superhero Girl and the Nameless City, The Divided Earth. Next slide. Sashimi from bestseller and Caldecott Medal winner Dan Santak comes a hilarious new graphic novel series starring a creature with the head of a fish, the body of a boy, and the chance to have the best adventure ever. National Book Award winning creator Dan is back with a painfully hilarious fish out of water story. His laugh out loud humor perfectly accentuates the story of friendship and hijinks in the vein of fan favorites like Dogman and Investigators. Book 2 will follow in fall 2026. Next slide. In the town of Barnacle Bay, a creature lurks. He's come from the ocean in search of others like him. To fit in with humans, Sashimi sneaks into an elementary school and pretends to be a student. Next slide. But he's clearly a fish out of water. When Sashimi finds out the whole town is on the hunt for the beast of Barnacle Bay, a creature who sounds a lot like Sashimi, things get wild. Fortunately, with the help of a new friend and the class goldfish, Sashimi figures out a way to stay afloat. I love this book. I'm so excited for you all to read it. Next slide. Auntie Q's Golden Claws Nail Salon. 12-year-old Domi Pham's perfect summer, poolside lounging and making art with her best friend. But that all falls apart after a costly mistake. Sent to New Mexico to work off her debt at her estranged Auntie Q's nail salon, at first she is miserable among the nosy aunties and fumes, but as she witnesses the strengths and struggles of those around her, she turns her summer into a mission to save the shop from closing and bring her fractured family together. Through a delightfully unique setting, the story explores financial hardship, the American dream, and the culture gap between immigrant parents and their American-born children. It's a perfect springboard for conversations about resilience, family dynamics, and the power of community. Next slide. Okay, Double Crossed is a thrilling World War II narrative. It is an account of the Operation Bodyguard, in which the Allied forces used spies and double agents to deceive the Nazis about their true plans for D-Day. The mission? Trick Germans into believing the Allies would strike anywhere but their true target, the beaches of Normandy. Featuring historical photos and breathtaking true accounts, readers experience the mind-boggling effort to lay a false trail for the Germans using fake armies, decoy landings, and the covert work of the spies who risked their lives. With millions of lives hanging in the balance, victory or defeat in World War II depended on the Nazis being caught unaware. The back matter of Double Crossed includes extensive source notes. Rebecca is passionate about narrative nonfiction. Her first 3 books, Race to the Bottom of the Earth, Unbreakable, and Not of Fire, received 12 star reviews altogether. Next slide. And we have many more books to check out on NetGalley and in the grid, so please check these out. And check out a new series from drummer and producer Questlove. Next slide. Next slide. There we are. Next slide. And more from Neon Squid and Odd Dot in the title grid. Next slide. And on to YA. Next slide.
Excellent. I am so excited to kick off the young adult presentation. Next slide, please, with Kelly Quinlan, Her Name in the Sky. Sometimes a book is published that really helps reshape what's on shelves, and Her Name in the Sky by Kelly Quinlan is definitely just one of those books. We've been lucky enough to publish Kelly's book, She Drives Me Crazy and Late to the Party, over the last few years, and now we're so excited to republish her debut, Her Name in the Sky, which became an instant cult classic when she self-published it 10 years ago. When it was originally self-published, it was one of the very few sapphic romances on the shelves, and it's a heartfelt story about the first love between 2 girls at a Catholic school. It's a powerful exploration of identity and self-acceptance set against the backdrop of football games and Mardi Gras and Catholic school shenanigans. Kelly has such a gift for captivating readers with heartfelt stories full of humor, angst, and undeniable Southern charm. Give these books to readers who loved Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School, She Gets the Girl, and Juliet Takes a Breath. Next step. Next slide, please.
Award-winning and critically acclaimed author Alicia Dow brings you Until the Clock Strikes Midnight, a cozy fantasy blending The Good Place with Brandy's Cinderella, featuring a charming plus-size Black girl in a humorous trope-filled tale set in a cozy book shop. Next slide. Join Darling, the spunky fairy, and Calamity, the overconfident celestial, as they go head-to-head over the fate of a particularly unlucky mortal. As they constantly butt heads over what's best for her, they start thinking about what might actually be best for themselves as well. And that may be they don't find each other quite as detestable as they once thought. With a fresh take on the devil on one shoulder and an angel on another, Until the Clock Strikes Midnight is lighthearted and adorable, which will have your patrons staying up well past midnight to keep reading. Next slide.
Next, we have a new addition to our wonderful remixed classic series in which authors from marginalized backgrounds reinterpret classic works through their own cultural lens to subvert the overwhelmingly cis-het white and male canon. I'm going to drop the link for the whole series into the chat so you can explore those at your leisure, but today we wanted to introduce the next entry, This Wretched Beauty, a Dorian Gray remix, and we're really pleased to have Elle Grenier joining us to introduce you to the book. Next slide.
Hi, I'm Elle Grenier, author of This Wretched Beauty, a Dorian Gray remix, coming out with Flywell and Friends Remix Classics collection this February. This Wretched Beauty follows a young, trans-feminine Dorian Gray haunted by a portrait that seems to taunt her with her own deepest insecurities down a rabbit hole of shame and self-isolation. The first time I read Dorian Gray shortly after graduating high school, I remember being frustrated with the way the book didn't seem to care about what was motivating Dorian's destructive and often self-destructive decisions, participating in the same isolation as the portrait did. Working on my remix, I wanted to lean into these ideas of shame and self-isolation, and the way in which cutting somebody off from community or language to describe their experiences can actually leave them a lot more vulnerable to harm. My hope is that this reimagining of the story can celebrate the importance of giving yourself grace and self-compassion, as well as remind readers that people can both know you and love you if you let them.
Next slide, please. Next, I'm so pleased to present a hopeful and accessible graphic novel on climate change. New York Times bestselling illustrator Danica Nogorodov and award-winning environmental journalist Mira Subramanian offer a comprehensive and, very importantly, a hopeful guide on climate change and what you can do about it. Next slide. We all feel it. Climate chaos may be a more apt description than climate change for the progressive warming Earth experiences year after year, which lead to extreme heat waves, devastating droughts, and intense storms. Next slide. It can all seem really hopeless, but Danica and Mira approach this guide by sharing stories from their own lives and the lives of 4 young climate activists from around the world. Next slide, please. Ultimately, the result is a powerful message. By reimagining our connection to the natural world and embracing a community-focused mindset, we can make powerful and meaningful change today. Next slide. I think this page from the end of the book really beautifully captures the impact of this message in the graphic novel format. It also concludes with 4 pages of additional resources for teens to dive into to continue their learning and ignite their activism. Next slide, please.
Debut author Yasmin Ungo brings you her first YA fantasy, She Drinks the Light, a one-of-a-kind vampire story that will keep you on your toes from the first page to the last. Adaye has lived her entire life on Golden Isle. Her life is upended when her best friend Naira vanishes, and as she searches the mainland for Naira, Adaye uncovers deep family secrets. Secrets that could change how she feels about the Golden Isle and her lineage. Torn between 2 worlds, Adaye must decide how far she is willing to go and who she is willing to cross to uncover her family's deadly secrets, saving her best friend and her island. This heart-pounding YA debut is filled with West African culture, beliefs, and tradition, perfect for fans of Sinners and Immortal Dark. Next slide. Natalie, a deaf teen, dreams of honoring her late dad's legacy by revamping the rundown deaf center. But she has no money until Felix, the lead singer of the most popular boy band since One Direction, offers her a job accompanying him on his summer tour, teaching him ASL. What begins as a professional arrangement evolves into stolen kisses and late-night rendezvous, deepening their connection and forcing Natalie to choose whether their dreams can survive amidst public scrutiny and contractual challenges. Author Sydney Langford is queer and deaf hard of hearing. Their voice is fresh and authentic and full of humor, while naturally weaving in conversations about grief, class, and fame with an expert touch. Someone to daydream about is an addictive YA romance filled with quippy banter and countless tour stop shenanigans that is perfect for fans of Alice Oseman, Lynn Painter, and Sophie Gonzalez. Next slide.
In just a minute, we'll introduce our closing keynote speaker, Adib, but first, one more very special graphic novel to preview for you all. Until We Meet Again is Lily Kim Kyun's graphic novel memoir, a debut that delves into identity, memory, and generational trauma. Lily's family is constantly on the move throughout her teen years. Next slide, please. Moving between towns in Canada before eventually resettling in Shanghai. Her father is her primary caregiver, and her mother is largely absent. When she finally reappears in her life, she acts really strange, saying things that don't make sense and filling the house with clutter. Meanwhile, as all this is happening, Lily is really struggling with disordered eating and depression, but cultural stigma keeps her family from discussing mental health, a discussion she desperately needs as she grapples with language barriers, isolation, and loss. Next slide. Ultimately, this is a story of Lily striving to reconnect with her mother and to break free of her family's inherited trauma. Hand this to fans of YA graphic novel memoirs, especially those looking for books that cross over into college years. This sits beautifully alongside books like In Limbo and Spinning. Next slide, please. Finally, we have even more YA books coming out next season, of course. As a reminder, overall in this preview, this is not the full list of books we're publishing, so please do peruse that full title list shared. There are so many more books to discover. Next slide, please. And next slide. And then finally, a reminder that despite our name, Macmillan Children's Publishing Group, we do publish adult books as well, or books for adults. So next slide, please. Including some wonderful offerings coming this winter. I also wanted to give a shout out to the just launched this year imprint 23rd Street Books, which is a really fantastic list of graphic novels for adults. We are actively seeking librarian and educator champions of graphic novels for adults. So if this is you or you know someone like this, please email me. I'll drop my email in the chat shortly. We are hosting a adult graphic novel hand selling tips with 23rd Street Books on October 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern, and I would love to extend an invite. So please join us. We'll talk about hand selling these adult graphic novels, where they are shelved, how do you get adults to remember that graphic novels are really for everyone. So really excited to continue that conversation on October 22nd. Next slide, please. And another couple previews of what's to come from 23rd Street. And next slide. Okay, and now I am so thrilled to introduce Adib Khorram, the award-winning, critically acclaimed, best-selling author of books for teens and adults. I read his book, One Word, Six Letters, in just hours, but I will remember this book for years to come. It's a dual point of view narrative told in second person about what happens when one student yells the F slur during a school assembly and the ripple effects this event has on students individually and the community as a whole. While it's a very different book, it really brought to mind the 57 bus for me because it sort of operates in a similar way of just really looking at a whole community impact, as well as a deeply personal one. I could go on about the conversations that I know this book has the power to ignite in schools and in communities, because I know as soon as you read it, you're going to feel the same. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Adib Khorram. Adib, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It's also just been a delight to see you in the chat. So please share with us all. One word, six letters.
Thank you so much for having me. Also, I apologize. About 5 minutes ago, they started mowing right outside. And so if you hear any loud noises, that's why. Anyway, I'm so glad to be here with you all. And I thought I would talk a little bit about One Word, Six Letters and kind of how it came to be. Last February, I was doing a school visit to talk about my first novel, Darius the Great is Not Okay, to a school that had decided to use it for their 9th grade read. And I was sort of in the middle of my presentation when one kid in the audience shouted faggot at the top of his lungs. And it had actually been a really long time since I'd been called that word, especially in a derogatory sense versus, a friendly sense amongst other queer folks. And I had to, first of all, reboot my brain because I didn't know what to do. But thankfully, as a theater kid, my training kicked in. And I pretended like I'd heard the word bacon, talked about how much I loved breakfast, and moved along with my presentation, all the while seeing out of the corner of my eye, a gaggle of administrators run in and body this child out of the auditorium. I finished my presentation, and afterward, as I was signing books, so many students came up to me and apologized for what their classmate had done, Teachers told me that that wasn't what their community was like, and it was an aberration. And I remember just being like, at the time I was 40. I'm 41 now. I know I don't look it, thank you. But I'm like, a 14-year-old's words cannot hurt me. I get to go home to Kansas City. These kids are the ones that are going to have to live with it. And I sat on this experience for a while, and I think that was what planted the seeds of one word, 6 letters. So as I wrote, the characters came to me very quickly. Dayton, a white freshman who was going to shout that word at a visiting poet, because I didn't want to just have it be a visiting author. That felt a little too egregiously self-insertion. And Farshid, an Iranian-American boy who's also a freshman and grappling with his queerness. And as I told a story in their dual point of views and alternating chapters in second person, I really wanted them to be mirrors for each other, to examine the difference between intent and impact, because Dayton didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings. He was bet $20 and he wanted to get some Pop-Tarts. Nonetheless, shouting that word in front of the whole school had an impact on Farshid, who then lived the rest of his freshman year in fear of being labeled as queer. I wanted them to be mirrors of and explore themes of what punishment looks like versus what justice looks like. Something that stuck with me after my own experience was that I had lunch with some of the teachers after the presentation before going home. And the principal of the school sauntered up to lunch, sat down and threw his arm over my chair and started laying out the punishment plan for the boy who had shouted at me. And I remember thinking, I don't care what he gets punished with. I'm more concerned with, is he being given chances to apologize to people? Does he want to apologize to people? Why did he do it? And what do his classmates feel? Has he apologized to them? Did he even mean it? Is he going to spend the rest of his high school career being known for that one moment? All this was in my head as I was eating my, chicken Caesar salad. And I wanted to explore that. I wanted to ask what healing looks like in that context. So as I was writing, as Mary mentioned, it's in second person. I really wanted to implicate the reader in what Dayton was going through and what Farshid was going through. I don't want to spoil too much. I hope you will enjoy it and read it. I'm sure if you're not getting a copy from this presentation, it's also a read now on NetGalley. So go grab it while it's hot, I guess. But I just want to talk a little bit about, I guess, the kind of conversations that I hope the book will start. It's I don't know, I assume everyone has noticed the world we're living in right now. Not just in this moment, but perhaps over the last 10 years, we've seen people talking about cancel culture endlessly. And I think cancel culture is a misnomer. I think we live in a consequence culture, and consequences are happening more loudly than they used to, or at least they were for a time. As we've seen since, I guess, January, maybe consequence isn't as much of a thing anymore. But I hope people will read the book, whether it's teachers and librarians, or whether it's students, and ask themselves, what is a proportionate response to poor behavior? Can you make mistakes and still be a good person? I hope it will inspire conversations about how you let someone back into a community after they've done harm, if they meaningfully change and make restitution. Back in 2020, I went through a friend breakup with someone I've been friends with since I was in middle school. Because of politics, surprise, surprise. I don't know if anyone remembers, but 2020 was a horrible time. At the time, I didn't have space in my life for someone who was voting to erase my rights, to erase my existence, and unapologetically so, all while telling me to my face that they loved me. Moving on 4 years and writing this book, I wonder if I handled that in the best way. And I wonder if I would do something different now. So I hope it'll inspire other people to examine whether they have room in their hearts for grace for people that make poor choices, and for, how to let people back in. And I think more than anything, I hope people will ask what a second chance really is about. What does it mean to make a different choice? How do the people in our lives encourage us to make better choices, or perhaps enable our worst choices? Geez, this doesn't even touch on a number of the other things in the book, including Farshid's grappling with being a religious minority and his body dysmorphia, Dayton's relationship with his brother, and his perhaps bad influence friend Brody, who I think makes a lot of mistakes himself, but is not irredeemable, and so many other things. But I do hope you will read the book and discover for yourselves. I'm also excited to announce, and this is a joke, don't get your hopes up. I don't know if anyone saw the news about the garlic scented book, but I'm proud to announce that this book will be scented with a high school locker room, and we're partnering with high schools across the nation to collect that scent. So it'll definitely be a great objet d'art on your shelves as well. Sorry, I can't help ending with a joke. Thank you all so much. That's my time. I think hopefully they won't play me off with like the shepherd's cook. But again, thank you all so much for joining us today. And I'm going to turn it back over to the Macmillan team to wrap things up as they panically send notes to production to let them know not to send my book.
Thank you, Adib. I can confidently say that the locker room smell will come natural with students taking these books and putting them in their backpacks and having them in their lockers. But it won't come from us. Everyone, thank you so much for attending our winter 2026 preview. We've so loved having you. Thank you to Petra and Brian for the Q&A and to Adib for this wonderful keynote. We are going to pass things over to Booklist. So next slide for some final notes, but sincere thank you on the behalf of our school and library team. Next slide.
Thank you so much to our special author guests and to the MacKids School and Library team once again. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's video recording, slide presentation, title list, and a certificate of completion. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you saw on the last slide. Yes, there we go. Thank you. You can also find out about the latest webinars on our social channels. Visit us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now Blue Sky. Next slide, please. Going to AASL in St. Louis, swing by the Booklist booth, number 214, and say hi. We'll have free copies of our latest magazines, buttons, fortune tellers, our popular reader recommendation wheel, and book giveaways. Hope to see you there. Next slide. Thank you again for joining us for today's webinar. A huge thank you to our panelists, author guests, and to our sponsor, the MacKids School and Library team. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.